Well, hi, this is Chuck Hyde, Vistage here in Northwest Arkansas, and I'm excited to be joined into our conversation with Dan Miller. Dan, welcome. Good morning.
How are you?
Doing okay. Dan, one of the points that sort of underpins your point of view on what it means to be human is to be outside. So I decided today we're going to broadcast from my back deck. It rained heavily last night. It's a little cool, but this is not a virtual background. If you hear birds, wind, whatever, this is the real thing, man. So I'm trying to be good. I just need some sun, okay, to get that vitamin D going for me. But glad you could make us. For those that don't know Dan is an internationally known nutrition and fitness expert. He works a lot with executives on what it means to perform at their highest level, specifically in terms of how they take care of themselves. He's coming today to us from California, quarantining there. And so Dan's first, you spoke to our groups for the first time back in April of 2017. And that went so well. I was so well responded to by our members. We brought you back for round 2 in May of 2018. So it's actually been a couple of years since we've seen you, but really thrilled. Again, welcome and thanks for making the time today. And I want to start with, tell us how you're doing. Tell us, how you're doing personally, how you've been affected by, this COVID-19 crisis, and let's just start there.
Well, personally, so I'll tell you how I'm doing. I'm doing amazing. My condo is in Las Vegas, but I had a global webinar to do out here with a corporate team in San Diego, so I decided to come out to California. Was in San Diego for a day or two and then worked my way up the coast because there's only 2 beaches in California that are open. And I needed some ocean time while I'm out here. So found one of the open beaches and settled in. I have this gorgeous hotel resort right in front of me, and the beach is literally right behind me. So that's where I'll be as soon as this call is over, is out there. So I'm doing great. I'm, healthy people, extraordinarily healthy. I don't mean just like, I'm only on one medication. I mean, very, very healthy people really aren't being affected by anything that goes around. Regular flu, COVID, SARS-CoV-2, if we want to name the disease or the virus. So I'm doing great. I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Business is weird though, because you guys are looking at a guy who travels on 4 to 6 airplanes a week normally, and yeah. I haven't been on an airplane in a very, very long time, but I'm still doing my presentations virtually. So it's been good. A lot of big, larger private events have canceled or moved.
Yeah.
So that's been a little tough. But other than that, my goal is still the same. Help people get healthy, and healthy people survive things like this a lot easier than unhealthy or severely unhealthy people do. So my goal is the same. How many people can I get healthy this week?
Well, I appreciate it, Dan. And I'll tell you this, one of the things that we, from the get-go when we started Vistage, that we wanted to bring in health, wellness, taking care of yourself to the forefront, and commit that at least one speaker a year is going to be on that topic. And primarily because we know that people, particularly in leadership roles and executives where we got a lot of people depending on us and a lot of demands on our time, we tend to take care of ourselves last, right? And we're taking care of everything else. And we're the ones that are suffering. We can't be at our best. And so, and I will tell you this too, is something you mentioned about just being healthy as it relates to illness coming your way. I think there's a real parallel even between that and business, because my experience is for the companies that I've seen, those that were already at a certain state of health and are doing the right things came in a different position and are on a different trajectory than those that came in at a lower level of health and aren't doing the right things, and they're on a completely different trajectory. I would argue, is it a fair argument that says whatever we're seeing in business is also true for us physically and how we're responding in this public health crisis?
So when you talk about wellness, a lot of people just go, well, physical wellness. They don't think spiritual wellness. They don't think business or financial wellness. Wellness is wellness, whether you're talking about spiritual or financial, or you pick an area of your life that you're operating in. And I like to look at, are you well in all of those areas, not just one area? But let me tell you the thing that why I focus a lot on the physical body and the mentality is because if you're sick, you can't take care of anyone. Your gifts can't be given away. You can't do your primary objective today, which it's different for everyone listening to this. I woke up this morning so others can get healthy. That's my whole goal. My goal in life is don't die like my father and mother did. They both died of diseases that are preventable. They both died of diseases that largely they caused themselves over 20 or 30 years of making horrible decisions in their health. So my goal is don't die like that. Well, if I want to execute that mission, if I want to get up and do my mission, I can't be sick. I just can't. I cannot do my thing if I am ill. I am no longer able to create and to give. I have to now rely on others to take care of me. So putting yourself last is the worst idea ever. It is not selfish to spend some time on yourself at all. It's an old school 1950s mentality, and we need to get out of that. Yeah. Take care of your vessel, and then you can go out and create magic in the world. And if you don't take care of your vessel, who's going to?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, well, almost 2 years ago, you were here, and I'm proud to say that I'm still doing some things that I committed 2 years ago that are really around taking care of myself. You walked us through 6 aspects of life and taking care of this vessel, right? This human suit that we walk around in back then, and I'm thankful for the habits you've helped me create, right? And I think, again, my testimony is that it makes a huge difference for me. I know we have members. I know there are people watching this that when it comes to those 6 areas, and it, we may not be exercising, we may be stressed out, we're probably not sleeping real well, we're not probably eating real well, or maybe we're eating better than before because we're not eating out as much, but who knows? But we justify it, and sometimes fairly so, that this the crisis that we're in has disrupted our ability to maintain healthy habits.
Right.
So I guess what would you say to, this extraordinary time that we're in, and is this a time where leaders can actually double down and recommit on some of these habits, and maybe talk about, are there any one of the 6 things you talk about stand out right now?
Yeah, well, here's what you would think. One would think that now that you are in complete control of your environment because you're home, that this would get easier, and it doesn't. It gets harder, and I'll tell you why. It's because of the illusion of having to stay where you're at, right? I don't watch television, but when I'm away from home, there's TVs in the hotel room. So you turn on a little bit of TV and there's commercial after commercial after commercial. Not a single one of those has reminded people that the outside, their backyard, is still open. It's all shelter in place, be scared, wear a mask. People aren't even making eye contact anymore. So what happens with a bunch of fearful animals when they're locked in smaller cages? And that's what we have to ask ourselves here, is because we just took 350 million Americans and said, stay in your cage and be afraid. Of course, we're going to have disruptions in sleep and movement, and we're going to choose way worse foods than what we know we should be eating because we're locked in fear and we're in a tiny little box and people are afraid to even go into their yard. So everything I'm seeing with people drinking more and eating worse is totally normal. So believe it or not, we are now in complete control of our environment, and it got harder, and it should have gone the other way. So what leaders need to do now is say, I am going to be the example for my employees. I am going to lead by example, and I am going to execute certain things. And I'll tell you right now, if you want the #1 free immune booster on the planet, you were just gifted with a whole bunch more time, because most people aren't commuting to and from work. The average commute in the US is 45 minutes one way. So most Americans just got a free gift of an hour and a half of their day back, and they're still not sleeping. And sleep is the #1 free immune booster. And now you can do 8 hours a night, and we're still not. And that's the one that doesn't make sense to me. I get the food and I get some of the movement. I don't understand the sleep at all. My clients that are working with me are bragging about how much sleep they're getting. And some of them are getting 9.5 hours a night because it feels amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's something it just, again, you're kind of having me think about some things. But I will tell you, I mean, my routine pre-COVID was to get up at 5:30. I kind of run the house in the morning with our sons, getting them off to school and all that stuff. Well, I have to do all that right now, and to commute to get to somebody's office. I'm not doing that right now.
Yep.
I'm getting up at 6:30, so I'm getting an extra hour, and I'm attributing it to my sleep. Now my work day hasn't really changed all that much, other than I'm doing a whole lot of this, right? Instead of windshield time. Probably the biggest casualty has been my Audible subscription, right? Because I use that in the car to kind of sharpen myself. But I think you make a huge point about, like, how can you just say, okay, I'm going to intentionally allocate time that I may not have otherwise had, or I would be spending in other ways.
Right.
And so sleep, number one. What comes after that in terms of what you're seeing right now?
Well, so I like to go with the free stuff, right? I'll talk about saunas and heat shock proteins and getting your fever-like temperature up, getting weirdly hot. But a lot of people can't afford a sauna. They can't. There's the place where they used to sauna is closed. It's not open. So the second free thing that you can do, that all of your employees can do, is get some vitamin D on their skin. Sunlight hitting the outside of your meat suit creates vitamin D. Vitamin D is a precursor to serotonin. Serotonin, that's the happy juice that you make during the day. When you get dark and cold, when the sun goes away, that converts to melatonin and helps you sleep. And vitamin D is a powerful immune booster. Plus, I've read several reports that show the protein that makes up this virus can't withstand UV light. So if you're concerned about getting sick and you're concerned about this particular virus, get outside. Spend some time outside. Don't put sunscreen on right away. Get some sun exposure before you put that sunscreen on. And then do what I do if you don't like sunscreen, and just pull your sleeves down and wear some long sleeve stuff. I mean, this is what I go to the beach in, is long sleeve clothing and hats. I'll expose when I want to, and then I'll put something that's breathable and lightweight and it still looks good on after the fact, so that I can still be outside without overexposing or using toxic chemicals on my skin. That's what I choose to do. You might want to put some sunscreen on, but you're going to have some sunlight exposure in your face without sunglasses, on your skin without sunscreen, to get that delicious vitamin D. Not only will that give you more energy for the day, but that'll give you better sleep at night, and along the way, boost your own natural immune system. Again, completely free. Go outside.
Well, it's interesting because one of the things you hear about, there's a ton of advice out there about how to work from home, and how to run a Zoom meeting. And one of the things they talk about is just get off the screen, right? Get off the screen every hour. But what we're not talking about is this, that actually works in tandem with what you're suggesting, is go for a walk outside, walk down the block. I mean, I've got a great cul-de-sac across the street from me. I just walk down the block. I may even get on a phone call and take that call while I'm walking to get, I feel like I need to get out and move.
And you know what? Caged animals feel that way. And we forget that we're animals. You guys have to remember you're an animal. If a caged animal isn't allowed to move, it's going to make worse choices in eating, and it's not going to be able to sleep as well. That's why we're seeing a lot of sleep disruptions, because people aren't going outside, because they don't have to, because they're not commuting anywhere. And I'll tell you, the statistics are dire. Normally in this country, the average American gets 5 hours of outdoor time per week. That's tragic to me, because they get 5 hours of television time per day. And that's when we're not locked in our houses. That's gone through the roof. And you can see with Amazon and Netflix and the subscriptions going up, and even how some of their performance is doing during this shutdown. So,
yeah, I've heard on the radio the other day that the average American is spending over 8 hours a day on TV right now.
Yeah.
This time, which is crazy.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I spent almost 4.5 hours outside yesterday. Now, it's easy when you've got a beach out here, and this beach is open, but it's just as easy when I'm in Las Vegas. I can't go out on the strip because nothing's open, but I can still drive to a remote area in the desert wilderness and go for a hike. I mean, outdoors are not shut down. I don't have a yard in my condo, but I can still move. I can still get out into the sun and do something. My takeaway, or the thing I'd like to drive home to most people, the easy thing, is just change that mindset. If you don't make a choice to come out of this shutdown or this quarantine better than you were when you went in, no one's going to be able to help you. There's no magic pill waiting for you at the end of this. We have to stop waiting for the insurance companies to fix us or for our doctors to come up with some sort of magic cure. You guys, you live in a self-healing human body. It is a self-healing machine. It knows exactly what to do to take care of itself if it's given the right tools. If you don't give it the right things to fix itself, no one's going to be able to help you. And then you're just using hope as a plan for your health. And that's the worst plan ever when it comes. It's the worst plan in business too, right? I hope this goes okay.
Right.
It's the worst. And we're using that as I just hope I do okay with this virus. How about I'm supremely healthy? Not just kind of healthy. I am supremely healthy. I don't know what's going to happen if this virus gets into me, but I know my chances are way better when I'm supremely healthy than if I'm kind of not healthy.
Yeah.
If I gained the quarantine 15. If I'm bragging about how much alcohol I'm drinking, that's a bad scenario.
Yeah.
So I look at this as we've all moved from our caterpillar stage into our cocoons. And how are you going to emerge?
Yeah.
Are you going to emerge with gorgeous wings and the gift of flight? Or are you going to just crawl away with more weight on and you're trying to move, but now it's slower? Which one is it?
Yeah. Well, maybe one last area I'd love to talk to you in our limited time today is water and hydration. You make a great point about how much of our body is composed of water and how much our cells need water. And particularly whether it's fighting off disease or whatever the case may be, talk to us about that. I'm talking to my 14-year-old son about how much water he needs to be drinking, daily because he's a runner, and things like that. And so talk to us a little bit about that to remind us of that truth and how much hydration means for us.
Well, 65% of every cell in your body is water by volume. So 65% of whatever you weigh is water, and 75% of your brain is water. And we think coffee is fine because it's a liquid. My body will just get some water from that. We think that drinking some of the sports drinks when we're not an athlete are going to be fine because our body will just get some water from that.
Yep.
And the reality is we put a lot of things in our body that are fluids that we might or might not even be able to use to put water back into those cells because there's dehydrating stuff in that, like caffeine or sugar or alcohol. And our body will have to fight through some of those dehydrating things that we put in our beverages. So the reality is, look, if we were to just turn the grid off, if we were to turn the power off, no internet, no power, it's a very, very short amount of time before people realize water is the beverage. That's the only beverage you could ever find in nature in our past as humans. And now we're not drinking it. There are some people that aren't drinking it at all. So let's get you up to about 2 to 3 liters of water per day. And then see what happens with your health, because not only will your health improve, but your metabolism will improve as well. It's a free way to lose a little bit of extra weight if that's a thing that's weighing heavy on your mind, pun intended, to just drink more water. And weight loss just comes with that because of how our body starts to move, the metabolic rate of each cell and how it speeds some things up. Plus, we lose a little bit of inflammation.
So, Dan, I appreciate your personal passion around this topic, the commitment you've made to yourself. But as you said, you got up this morning so somebody else could live a healthier and more full life because of the way we're taking care of ourselves. And I'm so thankful. I know you. I thank for the way you challenge us and the perspective you bring, because not a lot of people are talking about the things you're talking about today. And
which is sad. I wish they were.
Well, it's exactly why I wanted you to be a part of this series, because what we're going to be talking about finances and execution and all this other stuff, right? These topics that are hugely relevant and important, but I can't think of anything that is maybe any more important than what we're talking about here today. So I thank you for that commitment. If anybody wants to follow up, I know you've got a ton of resources out there, but how would anybody follow up with you, or where should they go looking if they want to know more?
Yeah, the best place to find me is just my website, danmillerwellness.com. That's the easiest way. All of my social links are down at the bottom of every page. I've got contact forms on every page. So if somebody's looking for me, or they want some coaching, or they want to do something in their workplace, that's, one of the commitments that I have this year is to get in front of more workplace organizations. And we've been quite successful so far at that. But I want to, we've got a captive audience when people are in our workspace, 8 to 9 hours a day. If there's a message, an underlying hum of health, wealth, and abundance in that space, that we get better performance and lower healthcare costs and all kinds of really cool outcomes, versus just kind of, again, we're just winging it and letting everyone do what they want to do. We can subtly show people a better way, and everyone reaps the benefit, including the employee, because they are sick less often and they are more productive, and there's all kinds of benefits for both sides. So danmillerwellness.com, and just hit any one of those pages. There's contact forms on there, and then me or one of my team will get a hold of you, and we'll have a fun conversation. If not, all my social links are on there. We can follow that way.
Awesome. Well, Dan, I can't, again, thank you enough for your generosity of time, your insight. It's always been a pleasure every time we get together, and I hope it won't be too long before we get to interact again. Be well, be safe, and go enjoy the beach later today, okay?
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
All right, man. Take care.